Okay, everybody. This is episode number 9. I'm going to start the share here so you can see the screen. Hang on just a second. So here we go. We're using a Zoom format today. So if you can turn your camera off for now and we'll turn it on later, that would be great. That way it's a simplified screen. And let me see if I can, sometimes I can make this work better. Great. So this is episode number 9, and it is about unleashing your power. Really excited about this one. What is it? How do you get it? What happens if you have it and don't have it? What happens if you have it, but you don't realize you have it? Lots of good things like that. So let's get started. Very excited. This is actually the next to the last one in this first series that was planned, and we're working on some kind of follow-up. So just in case you're interested, there seems to be a small core group that likes this. So I'll keep doing this as long as people find it valuable. All right, here we go. Power. You all know how important words are to me. Both my parents were journalists. Some of you know that. My pop was a newspaper man. My mother was a magazine editor. So I grew up with books and apparently the stories are that I was reading when I was, 4 years old or something like that. But that's another story. And this is why I think one reason words are the most powerful force available in humanity. And in case you don't believe that, look at what is happening in our country. With the president and the words that president uses and doesn't use. We'll come back to that in just a minute. So let's look at power here. It originally came from the Latin potere, which became posse. One of the forms of it was posse. And in the western part of America, as the country was expanding, you've seen the Western movies, and the sheriff would create a posse. And that was a group of people, and the sheriff would give them temporary power, the power to arrest and so on. And that's where that word came from. I didn't know that until I started doing this research. Then from the Latin, it went to the Anglo-Norman French a long time ago. It became poere, and which of course in English turned into power. It's the ability to act or do or make something happen. That's what it is. Right? That's in simplest form. Now, where does this power come from? Well, if you think about Adam and the story of Adam and Eve in the garden, that when we use words, we're naming something. It is an act. It's actually an active use of our power. Lynn O'Neill, you're the only one on screen. If you want to turn your camera off, it's fine with me if you want to stay on, but okay, great. Okay, cool. It's that seeing. This just came to me when I was preparing for this, that when we see something, internally we're naming it. We put a label on it. And the minute we put a label on it, that is attach a word to it, some kind of a concept to it, we're using a power instantaneously in a nanosecond without even realizing it. It's actually a creative act. We're using our power to create the world. And here's the actual, this is the story from Genesis, if you want to look it up sometime. I'm paraphrasing from the biblical language here. Okay, so the Creator formed all the wild animals and all the birds in the sky, and he brought them to Adam and said to see what Adam would name them. And whatever Adam named each living creature, that's what it became. I just think that that story, of course, it's not the way it happened, but as my Native American storyteller friends say, it may not have happened this way, but the story is true. I think this is a really, really powerful truth, that when we name something, it becomes what we name it. I mean, how many times have you been with somebody, met somebody, and had a first impression? And so you kind of named them, you put some labels on them, and then you got to know them, or something happened, and either in one direction or the other, and now you put new labels on them. Guess what? The minute you name something or someone, That's what they become. What kind of power? What kind of power do we have just looking out at the world? Isn't that amazing? I mean, I never thought of that. I mean, it didn't hit me until I was preparing for this, that we're walking around exercising, I don't know, it's a godlike powers because we're creating everything we see. Just incredible. There are other kinds of Greek words for power. You know how much I love the Greek language. Dunamis, where we get the word dynamite, which is potential, ability to move. Kratos, we get democracy, autocracy, which is the power over. It's the power over. And then Bia was the daughter of the Titan Pallas, and his wife Styx. And it's angry or punishing power, because if you read the story, Bia did a whole lot of punishing. So that's another, when you read the Greek, that all three of those words are translated power. So you have to know the context in order to know what kind of power that shapes the way the context is understood. Now, these are 7 kinds of power. And I've adapted this from a really classic article by French and Raven back when I first started learning about the applied behavioral sciences. I think this goes back to the 1960s or maybe the late 50s. And they were looking at power in groups quite often and in organizations and communities. And they came up with, I don't know, 5 or 6, and I've moved it around and changed it a little bit. So this is my adaptation of that. So don't blame them if it doesn't make sense. First of all, you need to understand that you don't have power. Nobody has power. Nobody has it. You don't walk around with power. Power happens in a relationship. People give it to you or not, right? They allow you to influence them when they see in you, project onto you, good Gestalt term, some kind of something, some kind of power, some kind of authority, something worth following, something worth paying attention to, right? Very, very key slide here. You don't have power. It's given to you or not given to you by the people around you. It's a relationship thing. You can be, I hate to keep talking about our former president, but as long as he was in the White House, he had a certain kind of power. And we'll see in a minute that he had a certain relationship with people in the country because of all of that. Now he's theoretically a private citizen, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens, what kind of power people continue to give him, or what kind of power they stop giving him. See, so there's power and authority. He has no authority right now, which is affecting his power. Okay, here we go. 7 kinds of power. This is 7 reasons people might give you power, or that we give other people power. One is position power, or formal rank. I was in the military. I spent 4 years as a combat officer and a deck officer on a U.S. Navy destroyer. I may have said this before. If you want to know what my life was like for 4 years, go see the movie Greyhound with Tom Hanks. And except for getting shot at by Nazis, that's what I did for 4 years. All of it, the sounds, and I got goosebumps right now just thinking about some of those scenes. So and you knew immediately what's really I don't say nice about the military, but one thing that's really clear is who has rank. Like if I had one of these and somebody that had 2 of these said, "Mr. Scherer, do this," I would say, "Aye, aye, sir," and I would go do it, and vice versa. So there's no question. You literally wore your rank on your sleeve. So you could tell immediately. And also if people had their ribbons on their uniforms, I could tell you where they'd been, what kind of career they had, and all kinds of things. So that's one of the things they make the rank explicit. Oh, in an organization, you have an org chart, right? You look at the org chart, and the higher you are on the org chart, the more of that kind of rank you have. So somebody at this level has more rank than the people at this level, and so on. That's a classic kind of traditional organization. Then there's coercive power. That's the power to hurt, the power to actually force somebody to do something. Doesn't have to be physical. When someone high up in an organization, like, the captain of my ship would have would have the ability to either help or hurt my career. It happens in organizations all the time. It happens in family, in, romantic. It happens in all kinds of relationships where there's the power to either hurt someone else or the power to help. Right. A fourth one is connection power. This is like, who do you know? When I would go in as a consultant to work in these large organizational change projects, I made it a point to establish some kind of relationship with the secretary with the assistant to the CEO. They had virtually no formal rank. They had no positional power, and yet everybody tiptoed around, the CEO's assistant, because he or she had not only connection power but information power. They know where all the skeletons are, where the closets where all the skeletons are. They know everything. So connection power is people giving you power because of who you know. Information power is people giving you, allowing you to influence them because of what you know. Like, for instance, when we go into some kind of a project, like a change project, the fact that I have, that I can talk about this stuff, that I can draw diagrams on a flip chart and stuff like that, and maybe have read a few books and stuff like that. Many times that becomes a source of, or a reason why people are willing to listen to me. I have no power in the organization. I have no rank. I'm coming in from outside. So the only sources of power that I have are connection power. One reason I like to have the CEO at some point, or someone high up in the organization, kind of bless this project that we're involved in. But then it comes back to this, when I talk to John, do I learn something? I mean, it's that simple. So when people are around you, what kind of information do you have, and are you sharing it? Do they feel like that you're somebody that they can learn something from, basically? And then, so I got my clicker here, expertise power. This is people giving you power because of what you know how to do. So for instance, if you want to learn about open heart surgery, you'd go to somebody maybe that taught in a university. Well, if I wanted somebody to, like, open my chest, right, I might not go to the professor. I might want to go to a surgeon who actually knows how to do open heart surgery. So that's the difference between knowing about something and then knowing how to do something. Hey, Kath, right now everybody has their cameras turned off. It's okay. You'll be coming back in a minute. It's okay to leave it on too if you want, but you just, down at the bottom left where I think it's where it says somebody. Anyway, it's okay. There you go. And then finally, there's personal power. And this is the power that people, I don't know, it sounds trite. They like you, they're drawn to you. There's something about that person. Je ne sais quoi in French. There's just this something about you. And some kind of people are drawn to that. Some kind of people are not drawn to that. But it's who you are. What kind of traits, not what you know. It's not what you know how to do. Because there's some people that know a lot and know how to do a lot, but people don't want to hang around with them. They don't want to give them, they're maybe afraid of them, or just kind of like, thank you, but I'll keep my distance. And it's not about style. That might be a part of it. So these are 7 kinds of power. And you might want to think about relationships. You're going to have a chance to think out loud in the chat box in a minute. Now, I'm going to put a gap between number 3 and number 4, because those first 3 are qualitatively different than the bottom 4 in this way. Those top 3 are, you can get compliance with those. Like when I was in the military, I had 3 captains during my 4 years on the ship, 3 commanding officers. 2 of them I would have followed off the end of the world. One of them, whew, boy, not so much. But no matter who they are, no matter what other kinds of power they had, they had rank. And so the captain said, right full rudder. Aye, aye, sir. Right full rudder, like that. So you can get compliance with the top three. Somebody can help you or help your career or help you in the community, or they see. The problem with being able to help people is it's a coin with two sides, because you can be grateful to somebody for helping you, but right behind that, there's that shadow. What if they turn against me? So whenever we're dependent on someone for help, the flip side of that is there's always that shadow. What if they decide they don't want to help me? What if they decide they want to hurt me? So you can get compliance. You can get people to do stuff. Now I'm going to go off on a track here for 30 seconds. I've been doing this large scale organizational change stuff for, I don't know, 30 years, 40 years, I don't know, large number. And I have worked alongside of some of the big four consulting firms for all of that period of time. Sometimes with them, sometimes I've been hired to come in and fix things after they did what they did. But when I watch the way they do a change project, it looks to me like they're working up here. Like there are meetings and there's deliverables and there's stuff that has to happen. We would say it's all above the waterline. And so people want to keep their jobs. So they go to meetings and, okay, I got to have this report, and they do the report. But I think the reason that a lot of these change projects fail is right here. That people are following a process, but they don't have their hearts in it. They don't care. I mean, they care about keeping their job or something like that. I'm overstating it to be dramatic, that, but here we go. These bottom four are qualitatively different. It doesn't guarantee commitment, but you raise the chances of people doing something out of commitment rather than out of compliance. So if you want people, if you're a manager, leader, parent, whatever, you're in a position to want to move people, work on these four and do everything you can to reduce the top three. We're involved in a little small change project right now. And I've asked the CEO to introduce us, our team, but then I want the CEO to go off, in a sense, off the stage, because I don't want people to be thinking that we're a part of the command structure, right? The only reason we want people doing what we suggest is because of these four down here at the bottom. We want them to listen, think about what we're saying, attention if it fits one of these four. So I think the ones at the top are fear-based. Even the ability to help, it has that flip side to it. And these down here, I don't know, something other than fear. If somebody smarter than I am can figure out what to call this. I was hoping it would be a single word, like if that's fear-based, what trust-based, I don't know. But it's something other than fear. I think that's the qualitative difference between the two. I'm going to go off on another sidetrack. It's interesting to me, my background in Eastern and Western spiritual traditions. I'm, seminary trained and all that. In the Bible, in that piece of spiritual literature, as far as I can tell, every time there's a story, it's a book of stories. Every time a story is about the divine interacting with humanity in some way, the first words out of the angel's mouth or the creator's mouth or whatever is, don't be afraid. Anytime there's like a pronouncement coming, do not be afraid. And it's, I mean, of course, there again, I don't think it happened exactly that way, but the story is true. If you're afraid, you're not going to be able to hear everything that's there for you in a relationship of any kind. When fear is present, your ability to listen, ability to open to what's happening goes down. Okay, this is straight from the book, this piece right here. The other part I've done so far is it's woven in and out of the book, but this is straight from the book. It's a quote from David White, Seattle-based poet, corporate poet, his great book, The Heart Aroused. Thank you, Mike Murray, for turning me onto that book a long time ago. David said this: the ego's wish is to have power over what is happening. The soul's wish is to have power through what is happening, no matter what that may be, whatever it is. I just think this is really profound. That the gut instinct when we get into trouble, that's what micromanaging is. See, micromanaging in a corporate setting or any setting, military, corporate, or even in a relationship, to try to get the other people to do stuff the way you want it done, so that therefore it'll be done well, something like that. I'm working right now. Our workshop, the Leadership Development Intensive, we have a solo version, which of course was the first one I did in 1987. It was a solo program for about 5 or 6 years, and then we did the group version. And I'm working with a couple of executives now, one at solo, over 8 sessions. And one of them is working on this, and he is a micromanager. And of course, what we're working on is not trying to give him techniques, but the fear that's in him, the fear that moves him to try to exert power over what's happening to people. And what I'm wanting him to do is to experience what would happen if he began to focus on having power through the mistakes or the lack of perfection or whatever. But to do that, he has to find his way through his own lack of perfection and his own mistakes. So I just think this is a very profound quote. It's in the book. So we have these 7 kinds of power: power over, power with. What kind of power do you want to have? Power over people, power with people. And I think there's another distinction here. How about power through people? And I think really when I looked at this, that the best source of power for having power through rather than power with or power over is it comes from who you are. All right. We're gonna have a chat about this in a minute. Now, where does all this come from? This is straight from the book. In fact, this is like in the 2nd chapter. This is where all power happens in relationship, right? So here we go. Here's a person over here. Person A, they have some intention, right? Something's going on. They want something. They feel something. Now there's some agenda, objective, whatever. And they encode all of that into some kind of action that you could see on a video, right? This is what you'd see in the world. This person says this, does this, tone of voice, whatever. All of that is something you'd see on a video. Then over here is the other person, and they're decoding, which is an active act as well. And this is what they're making up about that action. It's having an impact on them, which is based on their interpretation. And that interpretation is coming from their history. That kind of person, age, skin color, nationality, all the stuff we're going to look at in just a minute. And they're bringing, you see those glasses that they have on? That's where it comes from. They put that on and they go, yes, or they go, no, or they go, maybe, or something like that. So power is happening or not happening always in relationship. This person over here, if you can see my cursor, they don't walk around with power. They walk around doing stuff in the world and having, this is who they are over here. And this is more what they can put out into the world. And then people over here are decoding that based on their own history. And of course, there's their world, there's your world, and the world. And this is why I call this the 3 worlds. Hang on, let me go back. So just take a second. If you want to do a screenshot, this would be a good time to do it. We're going to take one more screenshot. Oh, by the way, you get all these slides, as soon as the thing gets converted, or whatever the right word is. Okay. So encoding, decoding. The decoding is where the power occurs. Now, somebody over here might want to have power. You might want to have influence, let's call it. And so you're saying and doing things. I'm working now with somebody in an EDI, Executive Development Intensive, and they wish they had more influence. And they said, can you give me more influencing techniques? I go, God, man, that's the brown end of the pipe. You can, in our work, as we say, you don't need to change yourself. You need to come home to yourself. And this changes everything. Don't try to get influencing techniques. Are you kidding? You're just going to fall into one. You're still going to have to, somehow people are going to have to see one of those 7 things in you. And if you're doing techniques and they're not real, they're not authentic, I think it's going to start looking like something up above that line. All right, so here we go. That's the three worlds. Now, this is really important, and I've got to thank my daughter Emma, my son David, my colleague Gabriszka here in Poland for in the last couple of years. I mean, I knew this theoretically, but waking me up, I mean, woke, right? I'm not woke, but I am waking up to the kinds of unconscious power. This thing about white privilege. For many years, I thought, oh, gee, I grew up in a mostly black neighborhood and blah, 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 blah. No, John, you're not getting it. You walk in a room, you're an older white male. Trust me, there's a lot of privilege going on there. You don't walk in like, I have a good friend, African-American woman, and she says, John, I don't walk in a room without thinking, do I have a sister here? Do I have a sister here? And I don't walk in a room and think, gee, is it safe in here? Am I okay? And this is an unconscious thing that we either have or we don't have. And I want to take some time on this. This is how we rank people and grant them influence, whether or not we realize we're doing it. What are all the kinds of ways that people can have power or not have power? How do we sort each other? How do we rank each other? Age. Now, in this part of the world, well, I was in Asia a couple of years ago in a program I was introducing, part of a PhD program in OD, organizational development, in Shenyang, China. And my goodness, I mean, people were rushing to open doors for me, and I'd put a drink of water down, and boom, there's another drink of water. I mean, they were just so attentive to me, and it wasn't because I was a professor. I found out it was because of my age. It was like, whoa, this is like, a pretty big deal. Other cultures, it sometimes works against you. So how old are you relative to those around you? Education, high, low, medium. Oh, where did you go to school? That's one in here, I think, somewhere. But gender, I have no idea what it's like to be a woman, what it's like to be a person, with a different skin color, for instance, but ethnicity, nationality. Every country has, well, in America, every state of the Union has a nearby state that they make fun of. Oh, you're from West Virginia. Oh, one of those mountain people. Yeah. And I found out in Poland here, they're the mountain people. Literally, that's what they're called. So it's nationality. Every country, Ukraine, Belarus, Germany, Russia. I mean, in this part of the world, you say one of those country names and instantly there's a kind of a rank. There's a kind of a sorting that's going on, some attribution of some kind that's attached with that. What does your body look like? Are you skinny? Are you larger? Are you tall? Are you short? Good God, I can't tell you how many years I was short. I was a teenager, walking in a room with girls and a dance or something like that. I used to just pray that there'd be some girl in that room that was shorter than I was, Oh man. And how many of us feel like our shape, is okay? Certain kinds of shape, people have certain kinds of shape. We give them power, size, big man, all that stuff. Skin color. My friend Kakuta, who is a Maasai warrior, an elder, they have, Eskimos have 100 words for snow. Seattle has 100 words for rain. The Maasai people have, I don't know how many, but many, many words for brown. They can tell whether you're from Nigeria or Ethiopia or, Kenya, quite often. And also the health of your animals. Your cow has a certain color one day, slightly different color the next day. There may be something going on there. So what is it that we tune into? See? And here we go. Let's get another one here. Economic status, rich, poor, and so on. In certain kind of cultures, having a lot of money, not necessarily a thing that gives you power. Some of the green organizations. Ableness. I was a stutterer. Thank you, Joe Biden. God bless you, brother. And that amazing woman Amanda Gorman at the inaugural, she had a speech impediment as well. She couldn't say the sound R. She couldn't say R sounds. I mean, look at this. I love this, that stutterers we're kind of getting our chance now. I'm a recovering stutterer as well. Boy, how that affected my sense of my own power when I was stuttering. Blind people, people that I can't hear. One of my dear friends, Shanti Parker, who was my really got me started was my assistant for many years, helping me get going. She got Meniere's disease, and she couldn't hear. And for a while there, we were on the team. We were learning. I never really mastered it, but for a while there, we were able to communicate a little bit. So where does that put you? Time in service. How long have you been around? What kind of organization do you work for? Are you a not-for-profit? Oh yeah, you not-for-profit. Or you're for a corporate. One time I went back to one of my seminary reunions, and one of my classmates said, "Oh yeah, Scherer, you're hanging out with all of those corporate people in the secular world." And I said, "Yeah, I am. They're in my congregation. They're my congregation." And also inside of an organization. Oh, you're with HR, or you're with operations, or you're with sales. Instant kind of power ranking, trust, respect, less, more, all that stuff. And then where you went to school. That's a test question. Quite often in America, oh, where did you go to school? Like, oh, you do Gestalt. Oh, where did you learn your Gestalt? Cleveland. I mean, there's this whole sorting thing that goes on. This is in America, we call it the postal code. And there's so many things that are directly connected to where you were born, and when you were born, right? Your postal code and your language fluency. Nobody wants to admit that they either have it or don't. Okay. These are all kind of ways that we have unconscious power or privilege. Okay. What I want you to do is take a screenshot of this. I think I'll go here. Yeah. In the chat box, I'd like you to start writing down which of these are you aware that you're aware that recently people have given you respect for that or power for that. Or another one is, which one do you probably have? You just think about these categories and yourself in the chat box. Let me see if I can pull up the chat box. I did it once here. Maybe I can do it again. Okay. Terry, 1959. All right. That was a great year. Skill. That's another good one, isn't it? Yeah. Thanks, Chemek. So which one of these do you have that maybe you're unaware of? Yeah. Yeah. Tim, I can imagine. If you're still in Toronto, I get all of that, man. Yep. Emma's in Paris, France, economic status. Greg, yes, you're very tall. Absolutely. You walk in a room, you're hard to not notice. Lynn, yep. Gunter, age, nationality. I can imagine situations where if you're from Germany, it can either be a plus or a minus. Yep. Yep. Education, skill, ableness, time in service. Yeah. Yeah. Education. Yeah. Agnieszka, Aga. Beautiful. All right. Let's do this. Age. Yeah. You're either old or you're experienced, right, David? That's great. Yep. Where you went to school. Yeah. For a long time, I used to hide the fact that I went to seminary because I was afraid it would be a negative credential when I was working in the corporate world. And finally, I just realized, it's a part of who I am, and I just integrated it. But yeah, exactly, Kath. These are not necessarily unconscious. Yeah. All right. Wow. Anya. Yes. Yes, you can. Yeah. Yeah. You carry this power in certain contexts, in certain relationships. You're the same person. you walk in another room, so to speak, and suddenly it's upside down. Exactly. Beautiful. So what I'm hoping here is that you, at least what's happened to me, is gradually become more conscious when I walk in a room. What are all the various worlds of rank that are present? And just to become a little more conscious, because I'm gonna pull out of the chat here, because when we're unaware of these, sometimes very, very difficult, painful things can happen. And I'm going to ask, I want to close our presentation conversation part with a story written by Catherine Scherer. Kath we were married for 25 years, turns out, and she's the mother, or what we call the bonus mom of all four of my kids. And this is a story that Kath did a while ago. And as I was going through this, I thought, okay, this is a great example of what happens when we're unconscious about the power that we have, and internally we're innocent, but we're not aware of what kind of negative impact we have. Kath, do you want to put your camera on there, lady? There she is. Hey, can you say something? You got to turn your mic off. On. Down in the bottom left there, where it says mute. There you go.
Okay.
Great.
And you're going to move the screen.
I will. Hey, Frank, can you turn your camera off for just a minute there, brother? Thank you.
You don't have to.
All right, Kath, you want to introduce it anyway, or just want to start? It's up to you.
This is a parable that came to me in a meditation years and years ago, actually before we were married, and it has it seems to the test of time. It's been powerful for me and for people who have heard it or read it. So yeah, I'm honored. Thank you, John, I'm glad this is still in your consciousness.
Absolutely, Kath. I thought of it immediately when I was thinking about what happens when we're unaware of our power sometimes.
So we'll see.
You ready?
We'll see how this goes. Yeah.
Okay.
So the doe's tale. The dawn came lovingly and soft, kissing the new spots of the fawn as she opened her eyes. Her mother was gone, but she felt no fear. The fawn knew she would return soon in time for breakfast. The bed on which she slept was green and comforting. Hungry baby birds loudly demanded their breakfast on a limb high above her, and a white butterfly gently suckled the new flowers. The spider's latest creation became a magical crystal catcher as the early morning dew glistened on her web. Wishing to see more of this wondrous day, the fawn began to rise slowly and carefully on her new legs. As she was about to stand completely erect, she felt a thump, and a shock of pain entered her heart. She fell to her knees, an arrow piercing her breast, and crumpled, lifeless, to the ground. A young boy adventuring out that morning with his new bow and arrows came out of the forest and stood by the body of the fawn. He stared at the still figure for a long time. The wind began to whisper, softly at first, then its more insistent breath rustled the leaves. And from somewhere in the audible air, the boy felt a soft but clear invitation to kneel down and touch the fawn. He knelt on the green earth, his hand almost as though it was being moved by the same force that caused the wind to blow, reached out and connected with the still, warm body of the fawn. There was a long and deep silence. Even the wind stilled itself. Then the boy cried out, "No, this isn't what was supposed to happen. I was just trying to use my new bow." The breath of the wind began again, growing into a chant, the chant carrying the question. You did not understand the power of your weapon. Now you have wisdom, and a price has been paid. The fawn is dead. What am I to do? Asked the boy. The response came. Be still. Listen to the song of the wind. Then the song began. It was an indescribable song of great love and deepest pain, of sorrow and forgiveness. The boy felt his heart breaking into many pieces, and he wept. The song continued, and the wind wove it around the pair, increasing intensity until the magic of the sound took the boy's broken heart and carried to the body of the fawn, where the two hearts intertwined. What happened next is a mystery. The boy's body became deeply still, transforming into a large. The fawn came to life, no longer a new fawn, but a full-grown doe. The green forest grew golden, then brown and gray, then covered with a blanket of snow. And by the light of their fires, the people of the forest told and retold the story of the boy and the fawn. As the years came and went, the rock became a holy place. The doe became known as a magical animal who never dies, but who will tell you the secret of love if you catch her. If you venture deep into the forest, you may find that holy rock or catch a glimpse of the stately doe. When her eyes find yours, you will not be able to look away. And if you are truly ready, she may come to your side. You will feel her warm softness. Know that she is real and be filled with the wisdom of her love.
Thank you, Kath. Okay. Now we've got 15 minutes or so. If you want to say something, if you have a question or comment for me or Kath or anybody, anything you want to say. And if you want to be seen, you can turn your camera on. Otherwise, you can just speak. And we are recording this because they're usually around 100 people who register, because if they can't be on, they want to get the recording. So just think about that. It's okay. This is probably a friendly community, but those of you that may be concerned about your image, you can just, speak if you want to. Okay. Can you? So Pauline said, beautiful, Catherine. Thank you for sharing and reading it aloud to us. Very moving. Monica says, it's great. Thank you. Vim said, indeed, thank you very much for the story. There he is. Hi, Vim. And Gunter says, wonderful words. Thank you so much, Catherine. I've heard so much about you. Now he says, now I've heard something from you. So this is lovely.
It was an honor.
That's what Cass says back to you, Gunter. Greg Foster says, beautiful. I think when you first shared that with me, it was early on in our marriage. I mean, it was almost, because you, like you said, this came to you a long, long time ago. Yeah. And I really didn't understand it. I mean, I didn't get it. And I mean, I'm almost apologetic, but I got it. Or at least I'm getting it at a much deeper level now of the damage that can be done when internally we're coming from a quote innocent place, and we just aren't aware of the impact that just our presence in a room. You know, I've walked into rooms where I was instantly an insult or, you know, an enemy. And of course I felt, why are you treating me this way? Totally unaware that I had my bow and arrow as, you know, shooting around.
Yeah. Well, it's my experience is that every time I read it, can you hear me? Am I on?
Yep. Loud and clear, Kath.
Every time I read it or experience it, something different comes up for me to learn. And that I find that that's true as I share it with others. It's like their reactions are everyone's takes what's needed in the moment. So that unconscious power piece is that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what, if those, hi, Pauline, hi, Joanna. If you want to be seen, if you want to become a part of the circle and you want to turn on your cameras, there are 35 of us, but if you want to kind of join the circle, go for it. So Pauline, is that your hand up there, sweetheart? Okay.
It says yes. Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Yeah. So I'm just sitting with the contrast of feelings in terms of, you know, some of the content, John, that you've been sharing around what power is, where it comes from, how we think about it, if you like, the conceptual piece, and then to Catherine's story, which feels very different and well, not sure I can form the words yet, but there's something about the kind of the innocence, but also the vulnerability, or a kind of vulnerable place within which our power kind of resides within ourselves, but perhaps gets trapped, gets killed off, gets kind of put down in some way. And therefore we might end up going to sources of power that are more to do with compliance than to do with building commitment and connection. So I just found the two kind of aspects of the presentation illustrating, I think, the complex dynamic around power.
Great, thank you, Pauline. I know when I was a therapist, quite often somebody would be stopping themselves, you know, like you wouldn't see anything on the outside. And sometimes it was very releasing for them to discover how much power it took for them to be able to compress all the gifts that they had, you know, and suddenly, you know, it would flip upside down. So that came to me, as you were saying, may not be exactly what you were in, but that's what it came to me. Yeah. Yes, Lynn, go for it.
Hi, thank you, Kath. That was that was amazing and such a joy to hear you reciting it. I suppose what was coming to mind for me, John, was that when you spoke earlier on about the compliance and it being fear-based, and then below it, non-fear based. And the word I'd written down was connection, but I think the word I was thinking about was courage. And as I'm, as you've been talking and I've been thinking and listening to letting, sort of absorbing it, the word that's coming is that courage and from the heart. I think cure is the French.
Courage, right.
Heart. Yeah. And everything that you've said tonight is from the heart. And it's, I think just picking up on what Pauline said there, that it's having the courage to that come home to yourself, which is that beautiful phrase that you've got on your all your marketing stuff, which is why I wanted to be here tonight. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to both of you. It's been really enlightening.
Yeah. Great, Lynn. Thank you. That, by the way, that saying is not just in our marketing materials. Anybody that connects with me at any level, that's kind of baked in to the way we attempt to live our lives around here. Yeah. What else?
Hello, John. Wim here. I was thinking, I would think that you are probably more aware of the power somebody else has over you because of these factors, the list you gave, than the power you have over others, or because of unspoken things.
Yeah, I remember trying to sell when I first got into OD. I remember the publisher of the newspaper in Spokane, Kathy, remember, the family anyway. And I was making a sales call on this guy that basically he and his family like owned the town. I mean, I'm overstating it to be dramatic, but my heart was pounding, and I went in there and I was absolutely terrified. I felt like why am I in here? And of course, he and his company, the newspaper, really needed what we had to offer. But I was hyper aware at that point of the rank that he had. But I couldn't have put it together. I just know I felt terrified when I walked in the room. So I don't know that I'm always aware, but I can feel it. I can feel it when I don't have it. I think maybe, I don't know if this is true for all the rest of you, but I think our biggest problem is having it and not realizing the power that we have, that we're carrying around with us, and how we're impacting people without realizing it. I've been on both ends of that. I've been on the other end of somebody that had power but didn't think they had power, and they were like, dropping a nuclear weapon on Belgium, or the Netherlands or someplace instead of, something else. And I've also realized that I've also sometimes been out of touch with my power. Thank you for that. Hello, Emma Scherer. My gosh, it's a family reunion here. What do you think of your mom on the webinar here?
Yeah, it's cool. I haven't heard that story for years and years and years, and it still rings true, and it stands the test of time. It was very cool to hear that again, and for Max to hear it as well. Yeah, I was just thinking, just Lynn, as you were speaking and talking about courage to sort of fit for that second group. The word authenticity came up for me, like, maybe be something like fear-based, and then I don't know, authenticity-based. The last ones
That's nice. Yeah.
seem to come from that place of just being authentic, being who you really are. And
yeah,
I often think about the power in vulnerability and the power in weakness, and I think having the courage to share those parts of ourselves, I think that maybe we see as weakness or vulnerability. I think that creates some sort of link, is not the right word, some sort of way to connect on a deeper level when we share those parts of us that maybe we're not super excited about. It makes us seem more human.
Yeah.
I was wondering though, what in your mind, Dad, or anybody else, like how, for people who maybe seem stuck in this fear-based way of working, aside from doing an LDI and working in close relationship with you, Dad, like how do we help those people get out of that mindset, which, I think society today likes to keep us in that fear-based mindset? What's the best way to help people out of that and into a more authentic way of communicating their power? Yes.
I don't have any silver bullet. Anybody else on here do? I think sometimes people get hit, life smacks them with a shovel across the back, or a kick in the gut or something, and they have to, it shocks them. But I don't know how to just help people unless they have some kind of a beginning glimmering of something they want to explore. Yeah. Great question.
Well, I would venture that it starts with the awareness, which that you're bringing a weapon which you don't know what effect it will have.
Yeah.
will have. And if you're aware of that, then you can look at people in the room or whatever
Yeah.
and try to understand what you're doing to them. Then at the other end, if you look at those you're looking up to because of some presumed power, because of background and so on, it helps to maybe to deconstruct it a little and to take a step back and think what's really the issue here. And
Yeah.
once you know, it's often it's how would you say that? It's projection more often than it's
Absolutely.
reality.
Yeah, almost always. I, we actually have an Aikido sensei on the call here right now. Przemek Gavronsky here is
Okay.
is the sensei of a very, very significant dojo here in Warsaw. And I was just thinking, Przemek, that over the years, I've been told that my vulnerability, like in the first day of one of our seminars, I open the kimono and share a bunch of things. And that's why people have heard a lot about you, Kath, and you, Emma. But not in a way of bragging, but saying this is what's happened to me. And people have told me that making myself vulnerable made them helped them trust me, and basically I would say, gave me power or some kind of influence. And I think that's Aikido. I mean, you're the expert, but I would think that, you invite the connection. You don't try to defend yourself. You bring it on, and then you flow with it. And then in that process, you're able to influence it. I never thought of that before tonight. Yeah, you're going to give us a demo there, Przemek?
Yeah.
We got about 2 more minutes here, gang.
Sorry, I had to go out of the room because my partner, she's watching a movie, so I'm just quietly listening, but you're absolutely right. And this is what the connection is all about. People in Aikido, they think it's about throwing joint locks and etc., but it's the connection. And the way you blend, the moment you feel you have the power, you can really hurt the other person. But if you lead, that brings just magic to the connection, and you don't enforce, you don't overcome, and then when it becomes just a fluent exchange of energy. And the problem, what you're saying, I think for many people, what is at risk is that if you let go, I mean, we all have our agendas, but if we let go and let the flow, although I do have a sense that I have some impact, I have no clue where it will lead. And you have to let go and trust.
Trust. I was just going to say, it's all about trust. And what occurred to me, Przemek, and also to build on Emma, what you said, when I think about those 2 kinds of power, the top 3 at the top, and the bottom 4, connection, information, expertise. I can imagine someone using the bottom 4 in a way that's trying to have power over, you know what I mean? They're using their knowledge and their expertise as a source of, top-down power. So I think authenticity, probably, Emma, is really a great word to attach to those at the bottom, where the top 3 are really it's all about the impact on other people. And the ones at the bottom are more something coming out of the person, as you say, Przemek, not knowing where it's going to go. Whereas the top 3 are about taking things where they want it to go. I'm oversimplifying here, I know. And the bottom 4 are about flowing somewhere without, like, I put out the information, I have no idea what they're going to do with that, or the connection, or the expertise. We got 1 more minute here, gang. Anything anybody want to say before we wrap this up?
I'll just add one more sentence, John. Although I must confess that it happens that I feel fear in such a moment of letting go of control, and not knowing what will happen.
As we say,
yeah, right. And surprisingly, it never disappointed me, and the fear still is there.
Sure, love it. All right, everybody. I always hate to hang up the phone, so to speak, at the end of this. I just wish we could all be in a room, in an actual space together somewhere. It would be so lovely. Lynn, it's so great to meet you. I don't think we ever met before. I don't think so. It would be lovely to have a cup of tea with some of you, and just sit down together. I just wish we could all kind of be together, and maybe this is it. Maybe this is how for the rest of of history, the future, this is how we're going to be together. So thank you all so much. It's very powerful. And listen, we don't do any selling on here, but I want to say, buy the book. If you don't have Facing the Tiger, go to the link. It's on the website, and just buy the frickin' book. It's a really, really good book. And it has 15 videos of me teaching stuff like the 3 worlds and all this kind of stuff. And my colleague, thank you, Joe. And my colleague on here, who's on the call, Dorota Navalanyets, and I think we created a heck of a book. It has 22 exercises. So it's actually an experience. It's not really a book. So I highly recommend if you don't, and get it for your friends too. All right, everybody. Anything else we need to say for the good of the order? Kath, thank you so much for being a part of this group. I'm so glad that you said and did and that you are who you are. So many people said, God, you guys, this is your ex-wife. It's like,
that you ever married, that you ever could marry,
exactly.
seems way above your level, John.
They're so jealous of our friendship and our relationship. So I go, yeah, we still love each other. We just don't live together anymore. It's really special. So anyway, thank you, Kath. It's really, really a joy to be in your presence when you're doing that. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, everybody.
Thank you very much, John.
Yeah, take care. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Oh yeah. The next one, let me get out of this. The next one is called, can you see it? I can't tell what you have on your screen. Can you see that?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. Oh, and there's a link, I guess, on the chat box. So the next one is going to be called, you think seeing is believing? Nope, it's actually the other way around. And that's going to be the last one in the series. And by then we're going to tell you what we're doing else. Also, there's the 90-day program, which is going to be a deep dive. This will be the deepest program that at least I'm capable of offering right now. And we're only going to take 12 people. So if you're interested, it starts in March, and it's on the website, I think. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much. Take care. Stay safe, or as we say in Poland, stay negative.
Thank you, John. Bye for now.
Goodbye, everybody.